How to ask open-ended questions in sales. That's what you want to know about, and that's what I'm going to share with you on this episode of The Inside BS Show. Hi, I'm Dave Lorenzo. This is the Inside BS Sales Tips Show. Today, we're covering how to ask open-ended questions in sales. This is coming direct from you. You asked me to do this down in the comments of another video, so I'm going to share with you how to ask open-ended questions in sales today. I've got 6 different ways to ask open-ended questions in sales. That's 6 ways to ask those questions that I'm going to share with you. And then the 7th thing, the final thing I'm going to share with you at the end of our time together, I'm going to share with you a secret. This one secret can change everything about your discovery process. It can change everything for how you ask questions, but more importantly, the secret is going to change the answers you get. It's going to make them better, it's going to make them more powerful, and it's going to help you close more sales. So how to ask open-ended questions in sales, we've got that for you today on this episode of our show. Let's dive into the content and start with number 1. The first way to ask open-ended questions in sales is the direct approach. That's right, you hit them right in the mouth. Hey, Mr. Smith, I'd like to learn more about how you do business around here. Let's talk about your process. Hey, Mr. Smith, I'd like to learn more about the needs you have and why you invited me over. Tell me, why did you invite me over? Mr. Smith, we showed up here today together to solve some sort of a problem. What problem would you like to see us solve today? This direct approach is fantastic because it puts all cards on the table. It forces you and the prospect to get right to the heart of the matter. Now, you usually use this direct approach after a little bonding, after a little rapport up front. I love the direct approach. It's no nonsense, and the higher the level that you're working with in an organization, the more likely it'll be that the direct approach will be effective, because more senior people in businesses don't have time to screw around. If you're dealing with the CEO, he's going to want you to get right to the point. He's not going to want to waste a lot of time. The direct approach works perfectly in that scenario. The second approach in how to ask open-ended questions in sales is the gentle approach. Now, the first approach was very direct. It was very straightforward, and I encouraged you to hit him in the mouth, right? Well, this is almost the opposite of that. You're still going to ask questions that help you uncover what the client's pain is or what their goals are. You're still looking to figure out how you can help them achieve those goals, but you're doing it gently. You're going to be very careful in how you ask them the questions, and you're going to put a nurturing statement up front before you ask them the questions. So here's an example. You're going to say, that's interesting. Let me ask you where this is coming from. Or you're going to say, it's fascinating to me that you're focused on this. Tell me, where does this focus come from? You're really going to lean in, and you're going to use open body language if you're in person, or even in a video setting. You're going to lean in and you're going to say, I'm looking to understand what you're getting at here. I feel like this is something that's really important. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Asking open-ended questions, making sure that you do it in the right way is critical, because you can't just plow through and be forceful. In step 1, or in point number 1, we talked about being direct, and being direct is fine. Step 2 is the gentle approach. You're still going to get where you want to go, but you have to appreciate that the situation is sensitive, and you have to address it as if it's sensitive, and you have to be nurturing and caring when you ask the questions. I use the analogy of my work in the practice of law with attorneys. When a family law attorney is asking questions of his or her client, they can't just go in and say, so, you think your husband is cheating on you? that's not sensitive. They have to sit back and relax and really get the client to feel comfortable, and they have to say something to the effect of, so tell me, what has led you to this point? I understand you're frustrated and you're emotionally hurt and you feel like your world has just been torn apart. And I feel for you, I really do. Tell me what has brought you here to my office today. That's a very gentle way of really getting the client to open up. So if you're in a sensitive industry or you're dealing with sensitive topics, take the gentle approach when you're thinking about how to ask open-ended questions in sales. The third approach in how to ask open-ended questions in sales is the clarifying approach. So if you're looking to get to the heart of the matter, you want to know what your client's goals are, you want to know what the client is concerned about, what they're afraid of, what's keeping them up at night, and they've told you, but they've given you hints. They haven't really shared with you the specific thing you're looking for. You can use the clarifying approach, and here's how it goes. You say to the client, I don't understand. Can you help me with exactly what you're saying? Or I need some help with this. You've mentioned this specific thing a few times, and I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. Can you give me some more details? Or I need a little clarity here. You mentioned this a couple of times, and I'm really concerned that I don't understand what specifically you're talking about. Let's try and get to the bottom of it together. Can you answer the question a different way? Or I need a little detail here because I'm almost there. You almost have me, but there's something missing. Can you share with me just this one more detail? The client will then open up and they'll share additional details, and you're simply looking for clarity. They know you're looking for clarity, and they think that you're out for their best interest because you are. So the clarifying approach is a good one to use when you're looking to get more details, get more information out of the client. The next approach in how to ask open-ended questions in sales is the leading approach. Now, I know what you're thinking. Leading people is not always a good thing because it can appear to be manipulative. Well, it is important when we're asking open-ended questions that we stick to the subject, we stick to the focus of our inquiry, we stick to the focus of what we're looking to accomplish. So sometimes we need to ask leading questions in order to do that. You want an example of how to ask an open-ended question in sales that's a leading question? Ms. Prospect, you wouldn't want to help with getting your CEO into the top 10 CEOs in overall ratings for your industry, would you? And she's going to say, well, yes, Dave, of course I would. And then you'll say, what would that look like? So there's two parts to a leading question when you're focusing on open-ended questions in sales. The first part is you wouldn't want to, would you? It's a tag that forces them to say yes. And then when they do say yes, you follow up with, well, what would that look like? You wouldn't want to double your goal this month in overall revenue growth, would you? Well, Dave, of course I would. Well, if you doubled your goal in overall revenue growth, what would that look like? What would that look like for you? How would things be different for you if you did that? Mrs. Prospect, you wouldn't want to win the competition for most productive sales team in your organization, would you? Well, Dave, of course I would. Well, if you did win that, just put yourself in that position now. What would that look like? And then they'll describe what's coming. So a leading question helps you, like that, change the mindset of the person to whom you're speaking. And it is highly impactful if you're in the middle of a discussion and things have gotten off of track. Now keep in mind, you can't use leading questions 5, 6, 7, 10 times during one prospect interview, but you can use leading questions once or twice to steer things back on course if they've come off the rails. We've covered 4 different ways to ask open-ended questions in sales. You wanted to know how to ask open-ended questions in sales, so here's the 5th way, And that's the confidential approach. You go like this, you go, Mr. Client, come here. Off the record, what were you hoping we could get done here today? Now, that phrase, off the record, means this is going to be confidential. I'm not going to tell anybody about this. And the confidential approach is a great one. So, Mr. Smith, I know we're just a couple of guys talking here. What's the ballpark for what your company can spend on this particular solution? What's the ballpark range for what you're looking to spend? Off the record. I mean, I'm not gonna quote you on it. Just give me, in round numbers, give me some thoughts for what your company could spend. I'll keep it between us. Confidentially, what can you spend on this? That confidential approach is so powerful, because if you're thinking about how to ask open-ended questions in sales, when you say, hey, confidentially, hey, off the record, tell me what you're willing to do here, tell me what you're willing to spend here, it gives the client or the prospective client some confidence. It gives them a sense that this is just going to stay between the two of you. Now, of course, if you promise that it's just going to stay between the two of you, you can use the information, but don't share it with anyone else. The confidential approach is a winner. It's a very good way to ask open-ended questions in sales. We've got point number 6, one of my favorites, coming up right now. Stay with me, because here it comes right now. So we're up to point number 6, and that's the 6th approach to asking open-ended questions in sales. You wanted to know how to ask open-ended questions in sales. This is point number 6, and it's probably one of my favorites, and it's a reverse. When somebody says, hey, you charge too much, I usually sit there and I go, you're right, charge too much, charge too much. Well, let me ask you a question. Why do you think it is that I charge too much? That's called a reverse. So they could say to me, Dave, why do you charge so much? Why do I charge so much? Why do I charge so much? That's a good question. Well, let me ask you, why do you think I charge so much? And this open-ended question is a sales tool that works like magic. Why? Because reverses put the burden back on the other party. Dave, I just don't know if I can work with you. I think your delivery time is going to take too long. You think my delivery time is going to take too long? Okay, that's fair. It's fair for you to have that perception, but when we talk about delivery time taking too long, compared to what? And they're going to say, what do you mean? Well, what are you comparing my delivery time to? Give me an example of something that would be different or something that would be quicker. And when you put them on their heels like that, they really don't know how to answer. The reverse is a fantastic way to get to the heart of the matter and figure out what's behind the words, what they're trying to share with you, what they're trying to figure out. It also is a fantastic way to determine whether the put off or the stall that you're experiencing from the client is real, or if it's just a little bit of hesitation on their part because they're trying to negotiate and find a better position. All right, we're heading to point number 7 when it comes to how to ask open-ended questions in sales, and this is the secret that I told you about at the beginning. I don't want you to miss this secret because it's coming up right now. And now it's time for tip number 7, and this is the big secret. It's the big secret to success in how to ask open-ended questions in sales, and that secret is always make it fun. That secret is always make it fun. Be lighthearted. Tension is bad. You don't want to be tense. You're having a conversation with someone who needs help, and you're qualified to help them. Be lighthearted, be fun, make jokes, enjoy yourself, even if there is a seriousness to the work that you're doing. You're there to uncover what the issues are. You're there to figure out how you can help the person sitting across from you. You're a person of goodwill. They're a person of goodwill. Maybe you're going to work together, maybe you're not. If this process is fun, if working with you is enjoyable, you're going to get the deal. And that is such an important secret in open-ended questions, especially in sales. When you're asking open-ended questions in sales, you got to be lighthearted, you got to be playful. This can't seem like an interrogation. It's a conversation. Pretend you're talking to a friend who's got a big problem and you're going to help them solve it. Those are the 7 tips that I have for you on how to ask open-ended questions in sales. Reminder, this is just one video in a series of videos on open-ended questions in sales. The other videos are right up there. Click on that right up there, or click on the link at the end of this video or the link down in the description. I want you to watch all of these videos on how to ask open-ended questions in sales. They are money in the bank for you. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you right back here again in the next video. Watch them all right now. Take care.